Rafael Nadal might be the final boss in all sports. Most dominant athletes have an off year. Tiger Woods went 11 years without a major. Michael Jordan retired twice. Tom Brady lost 13 playoff games. Federer had 2013. Djokovic had 2017. Every all-time great has a season where the magic just isn't there. But not the man from Spain. Rafael Nadal played 116 matches at Roland Garros. He only lost 4. At the 2007 Hamburg final, Roger Federer beat Rafael Nadal in 3 sets. After dropping the first set, Federer won the next 2 6-2, 6-love. So why does he look so thrilled? The last 2 sets were not even close. Well, it is because Rafael Nadal walked into this match on an 81-match winning streak on clay. 81 straight wins. For more than 2 years, nobody had beaten him on this surface. Not Federer, not the clay court specialists. Nobody. And up until that day, Nadal had never lost a final on clay. So even though Federer was world number 1, and even though he was already becoming one of the greatest players ever, against Nadal on clay, he was still somehow the overwhelming underdog. And honestly, this is only scratching the surface of what Nadal's clay dominance actually looked like. To understand how this became one of the most dominant situations in the history of sport, we have to go back to where it started. Nadal's first ATP-level match came in April 2002 in his hometown of Mallorca. 15 years and 10 months old, ranked 762nd in the world, playing the world number 81. So this was not some soft introduction. This was a 15-year-old kid still years away from becoming the version of Nadal we know now, playing a proper top 100 professional. He won 6-4, 6-4. He lost the next round, but the warning sign was there. Then 2003 happened. He started the year ranked outside the top 200. By April, he qualified into Monte Carlo, and there he beat Albert Costa, the reigning French Open champion, which means a 16-year-old qualifier, just barely inside the top 100, beat a man who had won the biggest clay title in the sport the year prior. A month later in Hamburg, he beat Carlos Moya, world number 4, former French Open champion, fellow Spaniard, and one of the players Nadal had grown up idolizing. And this is the part that gets lost when we talk about Nadal now. Because we remember the legend, the 14 French Opens, the sleeveless shirts, the forehand, the intensity. But before Nadal became the final boss, he was a 16-year-old beating up grown men on a random Tuesday. And not just any grown men, Grand Slam champions, top 5 players, clay court experts, the exact players who should have exposed him physically, mentally, and tactically. Instead, they became the first people to realize just what this teenager could become. And in 2004, at just 18, he met Federer for the first time. World number 1, on a hard court, a much more favourable scenario for Federer. And still, Nadal won 6-3, 6-3. So by 18, he already had a win over Federer, an ATP title, and he was becoming one of the most hyped prospects the sport had ever seen. But the strangest part is what happened next. A stress fracture in his left ankle forced him to miss the entire 2004 clay season. So for the second year in a row, his Roland Garros debut was delayed. The tennis world still hadn't gotten the chance to witness him in Paris. Then 2005 arrived, and this was the year Nadal showed the world the upper limits of clay court tennis. He started the season ranked 51 in the world. He ended at world number 2. He won 11 titles, 8 of them on clay. He finished 79-10, still the most wins by a teenager in an ATP season. And finally, he had his chance at Roland Garros. For most players, Roland Garros is a tournament you spend years trying to figure out. The slow court, the bad bounces, the heavy conditions, the 5-set grind. It is a tournament that can make even great players look uncomfortable. But Nadal walked in at 18 years old and won it on his first attempt. He dropped just 3 sets the whole tournament, beat Federer in the semi-final, then beat Mariano Puerta in the final to claim the trophy. And this is also the year the 81-match clay streak began. For 2 years, on a surface that is supposed to create upsets against an entire field of grown men trying to figure him out, nobody could touch him. Then by the late 2000s, drawing Nadal on clay was not just a bad matchup, it was the hardest possible ask in sport. You could be a seasoned top 10 player, you could have your team, your self-belief, your pre-match hype up, and still know the question everybody was going to ask before the match. Do you really think you stand a chance against this guy? And everyone could see why. Nadal's topspin forehand was famously measured around 3,200 RPMs, substantially more than most elite forehands of his era. His ball kicked higher, it jumped harder, it landed at your shoulder when you were expecting it at your hip, and Nadal's movement just added more fuel to the fire. He always found a way to make his opponents play one more shot, so opponents felt like they had to hurt him early. They had to redline. They had to take risks they would not take against anyone else. Because once the point became a physical battle, it started moving in Nadal's direction. And in some years, this dominance reached a level that is almost hard to process. Because in 4 separate years, Nadal won Roland Garros without dropping a single set the entire tournament. 4 different versions of Nadal, 4 different eras of the tour. Same result. And in the 2008 final, he played Federer, world number 1 at the time, on one of the most dominant runs the sport had ever seen. The final score, 6-1, 6-3, 6-love. Federer won just 4 games in a Grand Slam final. It was the worst defeat Roger Federer ever suffered in a major. Then 2020 came along. October conditions, heavier balls, colder air, everything that was supposed to make life harder for him. He went through the entire tournament again without dropping a single set. The final was against Djokovic, the world number 1, undefeated that year, and it took Djokovic 54 minutes to win a single game. The first set ended 6-love and Djokovic won just 7 games the entire match. It was the worst defeat of Novak Djokovic's career in a Grand Slam final. But the King of Clay was not completely unbreakable. 4 times in 20 years. So somebody must have found a way. And the first man to do it was Robin Soderling in 2009. By that point, Nadal had won Roland Garros 4 years in a row, which was already the second most Roland Garros trophies in the Open era. Then Soderling walked into the 4th round and did something most players thought was impossible. He did not look scared, and he refused to play like someone waiting for Nadal to eventually become his usual self. So many players against Nadal on clay looked like they were just trying to survive long enough to maybe get a chance. Soderling played like he was the favourite from the start. He won in 4 sets, and for the first time ever, Rafael Nadal lost at Roland Garros. But then the next year arrived, and Nadal came back and won the tournament without dropping a set, where he beat Soderling in the final. For most champions, revenge is winning again. For Nadal, revenge was restoring order. The second man to do it was Djokovic in the 2015 quarterfinal. He beat Nadal 7-5, 6-3, 6-1. But here is the strange part. Djokovic beat Nadal at Roland Garros and still did not win the tournament. And Djokovic did it again in the 2021 semi-final, in one of the greatest clay court matches ever played. The curfew was pushed aside, the crowd lost its mind, and 2 legends dragged each other into a level of tennis most players never reach. Djokovic won in 4, and then he won the title. But look at what it took. Soderling played the match of his life. Djokovic may be the greatest problem solver tennis has ever seen, needing years of attempts and one of the greatest matches of his career. And the 4th was Zverev in 2024, against a 37-year-old Nadal, physically diminished, in what felt less like a solving of the problem and more like the ending of an era. 4 losses in 20 years. The exceptions existed, but they only made the rule look crazier. There are dominant athletes in every sport. Michael Jordan in the finals, 6-0. Floyd Mayweather, 50-0. Usain Bolt in the 100 meters, Tiger Woods on Sunday, Simone Biles in gymnastics. But most of those examples are about an athlete being better than everyone else. Nadal at Roland Garros was something different. The surface suited him, the court amplified him, and the longer the match went, the more it felt like the opponent was being forced into Nadal's world. It was dominance over the entire situation. And the strangest part is, tennis never had a player like him before he came along. No clay specialist in the Open era has come close to 14 of anything at a single slam. We are probably never seeing anything like it in tennis again. So he belongs in the conversation. Jordan, Mayweather, Bolt, Tiger, and Nadal on clay. So he feels like the most dominant circumstance we've ever seen in sport. But you tell me, what is more dominant than 112 and 4?